Peace and blessing, family. It's your man, Marifa, and welcome to Still Building Podcast. That's right, man. Still Building Podcast, yo. We are back for episode 10, y'all. 10 episodes, man. We are doing amazing, man. Listen, the topic for today, we got us a deep one. We talking about childhood trauma and the impacts it has on your life. The things you've dealt with in your life and traumas that you've dealt with in the past as a child, how it impacts your life. Man, we got an amazing panel today, and we're going to be discussing that and a lot more starting right now. Let's get it. Yeah, we black. It's your man Marifa Black yet again for another episode of Still Building Podcast. Hey man, we talking about childhood trauma, y'all. Listen, it's a lot of things that we don't discuss in the black community, man, and we need to talk about these things for therapeutic situations, man. Things that we've gone through, may have impacted our future and how we deal with relationships, how we deal with people, how we raise our children, the decisions that we make. A lot of things we don't discuss because we're either ashamed of those things or we haven't, forgiven people for those things. It's just a lot of different reasons why. But I think it's good for us to be able to talk about these childhood traumas, to be able to overcome them and grow from those episodes, experiences. So let me bring my panel in. I got an amazing panel. You know who it is. Kit Jones and Faith B in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, Still Building Podcast live right now, man. Let me drop some admin notes on y'all real quick, man. Look, we need you to like, subscribe, follow, and share all the social media platforms, man. You know what I'm saying? Marifa Saw LLC on YouTube. But listen, we also on Patreon. Become a patron today at Still Building Podcast. Patreon /Still Building Podcast. Become a patron today and get exclusive content and get in touch with us one-on-one, man, for consultancy, for all type of exclusive materials and things of that nature. Is very important, you know what I'm saying, to support the community, to support the Still Building Podcast live. Let's get to it, baby. We're talking about something very deep and very important. Now, we had a little brief discussion that just carried on, man. And we was like, look, we got to go live with this and talk to the people, man, because they're the things that we have dealt with. A lot of people have dealt with these things and they haven't really overcome them. They suppress a lot of this stuff, deep down in their psyche. They don't want to revisit it. They don't want to talk about it. It's taboo. Things that they had that happened to them in their past that they haven't dealt with. And it has caused them to go through life dealing with different things and how they deal with in relationships, how they deal with raising their children is impacted because of the trauma that they never finished dealing with from a child. So it's a lot of different things that happen, that occur. We were discussing before that we went live about, our parents, how we went through situations with our parents and things that we experienced as children that we witnessed with our own two eyes and how we process those things as children growing up, and how they had an impact on our lives going forward. Some of the stories, some of the experiences that we shared were kind of amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to be able to revisit some of that stuff. If we could, Faith B, you know what I'm saying? Give us some examples of certain things that you dealt with in your childhood that were, things that people deal with all the time. I mean, like, that you had to overcome.
I know the common belief is that I come from a one-parent household. It started off as a two-parent household and eventually led to a one-parent household. I can remember my dad being in the home, and my mom and dad in the beginning playing well before they didn't play well. And Kit, I meant to ask you, because when Marifa and I are talking, he's from a really large family. I'm from a really large family. I want to know if you're from a really large family, or Man, so like at least I had my brothers and sisters to bounce my ideas off of, but like my
Yeah.
parents didn't play well together. Man, my mom was larger than life. She said what she meant. You know, a lot of people, young people now say, I said what I said. No, they
That's
just
right.
they
Yeah.
just making that up. She said what she said. She was larger than life, a big lady,
Yeah.
and she didn't take down for nobody. She said what she said, and when she said it, she meant it. She was E.F. Hutton.
Yeah.
People
She
was
was.
listening.
She
And
wasn't
Yeah.
so
playing.
uh,
She was
man,
not
she
playing.
ruled with an iron fist, and I've seen her. I've seen her take out people. I've seen her take out cars behind her girls, behind her sons. I can remember a time. Uh, I was sharing the story with you all about how she threw a cinder block. A half a.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, no lie. A
Yeah.
Yeah.
little cinder block. The guy was pulling off through the back of his window behind my sister, and the countless knockdown dragouts that she had with my dad. She shot my dad.
Mm.
Yeah.
Man,
How did that make you feel though? You know, when you witness these things, what impact did it have on your psyche?
well, you would think that like it would turn me off of so I was just talking to someone about how firing a gun makes me feel really like it's such a powerful feeling. You would
Yeah.
think that after this trauma that I might be turned away from guns or
Yeah.
might be scared of guns, but I'm not. I like the way it feels in my hand. Um,
Yeah.
I like it. Sounds crazy, but I like it. I like guns. I like weapons. There's this thing called the T-Rex.
Yeah.
My goal is to fire a T-Rex before I leave here, but it stands on a tripod. You can look it up. And they're saying
Yeah.
that thing has the ability to dislocate your shoulder because of the kickback.
Is that
But
like
Mm.
the 50 cal?
I want to I don't know what the caliber is on this thing. I just know that the sound of it when it goes off
Yeah.
and that kick, man, I gots to do it. I
Yeah.
Then
gots
Yeah.
to
there's
That's
do
a
no
it.
good one.
question why a sister like yourself would join the military as well. Like
Right.
there was an opportunity to be around this kind of firearm, and go to the range or go see an example of the 50 cal, or the 55, or
I was gonna say
take
now
the
that
M60 out, right?
and people complain, oh, we got to go to the range. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm all
He's
Man,
ready.
in. And I don't want to
Now,
sound like I don't want to sound like that crazy veteran, but like it is what it is. I like guns. I like the feel of them. I like the different styles of them. I like the different calibers. Like that
see,
is
I wish I was in PLDC with you then.
yeah,
When it came time to, break the 60 down and everybody take, I'd be like, oh no, she'll take the tripod. She don't care,
yep.
As
And
long as
it's
we give
funny
her
because
some dummy rounds, she'll be cool.
I was part of that. I was part of that team that did carry the 50.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love, somebody got to carry the mitts because that stuff gets hot. Somebody got to carry the tripod. Somebody got to carry the ammo, and somebody got to actually carry the weapon. And I was part of that team. Like I
yeah,
volunteered for that. That was one of the better times. But like not entire childhood traumatic, but enough that it stuck with me. And like
yeah,
you, Marifa, it made me want to take care of people.
yeah. So when you saw that, right? It's they say two things occur when you have trauma. Either you're gonna emulate what you saw and do
right,
and repeat what you did, what you saw, or you're gonna go the opposite direction and not repeat what you saw. For me, I learn from watching others. You know what I'm saying? When I see
hmm,
people go through things and stuff like that, I don't have to touch the stove to know that it's hot. If I see
Right.
you and how you respond to the situation, and if it's bad for you, I don't want to experience that. So I'm going in the other direction easily. I'm not trying to experience what that I'm watching you go through. So
Yeah.
I
yeah,
come from a family of eight. I'm three. I'm the third of eight children, right? And we're a blended family, right? So we have different mothers and fathers, but
Hmm.
we all brothers and sisters. We don't call each
Yeah.
other half. We don't.
Right.
I don't call my. I call my stepmother moms because she's my mother. She raised me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
give her that respect, and I call my mother mama. You know what I'm saying? So my biological mother. So we don't have the delineated,
Yeah.
separation of,
Yeah.
distinction. This is your title according to whatever society says you are. No, we're family. You know what I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
saying? And we all are all family. I don't care where you came from. We live together.
Yeah.
We ate together.
We
We
lived
did,
together. We ate together.
yeah, we did, all of the chores together. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
shared clothing and all type of stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We're family. You know what I'm saying? We protect each other, all type of stuff. So I never distinguished none of that. You know what I'm saying? My brother's my brother, my sister, my mother's my mother, my father's my father. Period. I don't
Yeah.
care about none of the how they got there. They there. Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
No
what I'm
doubt.
saying, I said that to say this. I've learned from watching my older brothers and the mistakes that they made and how they went through things and challenges and stuff like that. But I also emulated some of the good qualities that they had, that they instilled in me, to take care of my younger siblings and be able to provide for them and be there for them, give them an example, give them some, leadership, tell them right from wrong, hold them accountable when they doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? Be there for them. So that kind of instilled it in me. So after the five who came after me, I was able to pass along some form of leadership, for them to see, to set an example for them to follow. Now, did I always get it right? No. Made a lot of mistakes, plenty mistakes. Okay. I
Yeah.
made plenty of mistakes. So I had some bad examples of myself, and then I also had some good qualities of myself, just like my older brothers did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So hopefully my younger siblings were looking at the good qualities and good traits that I have and emulate those and then just discard the bad, while still, loving me in the process. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So that gave me a sense of, wanting to help others. And that's just how I've always been, because that's how I was raised. You know what I'm saying? My mother instilled that in me as well, help other people because she was like the neighborhood mother. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Now she dealt with some mental illnesses and stuff when I was a child growing up, because she had these episodes of, drug use and things of that nature that she went through. And when she was going through her episodes of drug uses, I'm telling you, it was very traumatic because of the things that we experienced and witnessed going through that. Police coming in and having to, restrain her, and she going to mental institutions and stuff, during those time frames. A lot of embarrassment, you
Yeah.
know, that would basically break a child at that age. I'm talking
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, different things that I experienced, going through with that with my mother. You know what I'm saying? And everybody on the block, knowing our business, knowing,
Yeah.
what is happening in our household, because at that time during the 80s, there was no, you know, everybody knew your business because, they all outside. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, you can't hide that stuff. You live right next door.
You live
You know
right
what
next
I'm
to
saying?
the neighborhood descending to see what was
Yes.
happening when
What's
whether my mother was getting someone right, or like she having that same mentality when she coming to the school. She would
yeah,
embarrass me. She would embarrass the teacher. Like use embarrassment as a blanket.
right.
And
Yeah.
and at that time, there were no cell phones, but word spread like wildfire.
Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quick.
it got around quick. So everybody's talking, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Say, hey, did you see that last night? Yeah. So it's like the gossip would go forward.
Yeah.
And then you had to endure the shame of being a part of that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
as a child, I had to overcome a lot of that shame and what I'm saying, and feeling embarrassment. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah.
go to school with all these kids, we play outside, and a lot of them would, surround me. The real ones would surround me and show me love. And, they would understand and give me some comfort and be like, hey man, it's gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? We all go through things or whatever. Even though they may have been dealing with their own stuff in their own family, you know what I'm saying? We would still support each other and have each other back. All of my day ones, they know. You know what I'm saying?
So what
All
I'm
my day
realizing
ones from the
now
block, they know.
is I may not have had day ones because what they would do, but my mother was very heavy chested. And so
Yeah.
what they would do is stick fruit and things in their shirt and be like, whose mama am I? Whose mama am I? And it was just
Oh.
real. It was real. It was real. Kids didn't have no filter then.
Yeah, yeah. So they would tease
And
you.
yeah, and it would
They
like
would tease you.
it would be it would really be it would really be it would cut deep. It would be hurtful. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know that I went the other way. I think that in some things I did exactly like my mother. I ain't shoot nobody, but like
Right.
exactly in the footsteps of my mother. And so
Yeah.
uh
So
man,
it's different,
just
man. Be able to come along in that vein to be able to go through those traumatic episodes and then still overcome and to
yeah.
become the person that you are today. Surviving that, but it also
But
had
you
a
had your
major
brothers and
impact.
sisters to bounce that off of. So I'm wondering when he gets back on. I'm wondering with a. I don't know if Kit is a. I don't know if you're a like an only child or like what is that? What does that look like when you don't have your whole like my family was a whole army within itself.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, the
had
squad.
them to lean on. So what does it
Yeah.
look like when you don't have that whole?
Uh, I don't know. For me, it was more like the OMG. I'm the older brother. It's just two kids in my household. I grew up here in Los Angeles on an infamous street called Bryanhurst. Most people know it for all the wrong reasons, but I grew up like on the last block of this street, right? Where most people assumed it was a dead end street. And it
Mm,
was really because on one side of the block, on my side, the even side was the last street of Los Angeles, and then the odd side of the street was the first street of Inglewood. So it was like a cutoff. So
mm,
one side of the block was paved, the LA side was paved, the Inglewood side was unpaved, right? And
yeah.
there were just some uniqueness about our street. When I was a very little children, when we moved there in 72, there was like a plantation style house across the street, but it was condemned. And eventually there's a, story I'll tell at a later date of how that all the structures that existed on this property across the street burned down.
Yeah.
Because that was an interesting, you see something like when you're 6 years old, then you're 46 talking to an older kid, from back then, and they're like, yeah, me and Ray was over there. We thought we was grown smoking and flicking cigarettes and set the house on fire. So it was like some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But the street I grew up on, fortunately, had like a lot of kids, right? So my household, it was me. I'm 5 years older than my brother.
Right.
And then on either side, there was a house of three kids. The next house had three kids. Across the street had three kids. It was six in another house, four on this side. So it was a gang. Every house had a minimum of two kids.
Right.
Then I'm grateful for being from like the middle generation. So there were kids that were 4 and 5 years older than me. There were kids that were 4 and 5 years younger than me. There was always enough in each group that kids all went to school together or you played sports together, right? But it was always like the kind of looking out for the kids on your block. So I grew up with children that we shared family, everything together, right? There was a time in my childhood where the parents got together after work and played volleyball in this lot that was across the street from where I lived, right? My
Yeah.
mother was the mother that got out there in heels one day thinking she was cute, getting off. Hey, Miss Jones, come jump rope with us. So my mom doing double dutch in heels, bust a goddamn ankle, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I had a childhood that was no less traumatic than the next child, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then I think being that I was the older son and expected to lead, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Here's an example of a trauma that happened in my life. My biological father um, transitioned about 10 days after my fifth birthday, right? So I'm 5 years old, standing there at the grave site at the memorial. My uncle's telling me, yeah, don't be no punk, which was gay back then,
Right.
don't you be no punk. Don't be no punk and don't cry, you grown now, right?
Right.
And
You can't show
that's
no
vibes.
emotion.
Yeah, at five, right?
Can't
So,
show no emotion, none at
it
all.
was, yeah, it was no crying, none of that shit, right?
Yeah,
Um, I remember, every Christmas for a couple of years after that, getting boxing gloves, right? Just whooping the hell out of kids that, were my size in the neighborhood because that was part of not being no punk, right? That I had to be tough. I had to
right.
look out for my mom, look out for my little brother type thing, right? So kind of being instilled at a young age, yeah, be a leader, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes that was me being the OMG or the one man gang. Hey, I was gonna be Jack the Giant Killer, and if you was a bully in school, I'd be the kid that you didn't want to fuck with, right? I was the
yeah,
kid that other kids would go, I walk by and see somebody punking another kid and be like, yo, leave him alone, right? And then
right.
end up becoming the bully's best friend because now I got to beat your ass, right? So,
That happened to me too,
um,
man. Some of my two of my best friends, man, we fought as little kids.
yeah,
7 years old. I can remember my best friend, Dwayne. I had to bite him a plug out of his leg because he almost choked me to death.
damn.
We fought in the wintertime, and I was like 7. I think he was like 11 or something like that. He 4 years older than me, but we became the bestest of friends.
So it's something serious anytime you got to take a plug out of nigga, to make
Right.
them stop.
To make him let me go, cause I'm about to die. I was fading out. I was like, oh, I'm passing out. I said, let me do something to get out this chokehold.
Yes. But yeah, definitely, and this was a question like we kicked around in the chat earlier in the week too, was, just about, characteristics of a leader, what makes a good leader and whatnot. Um,
Yeah.
but
So
ultimately,
before you
yeah,
go
go ahead.
on, are they born? Can you make good leaders? Are they born? Is it something that they're born with, or can you make one? Can you make a really
All
good
of the above. All of
Yeah,
the
they have to
above.
have the intangibles to want to and desire to do it. Because if you
All
don't
of
have
the
that
above.
desire in you, it
Yeah.
ain't gonna happen. Now, but you may need the nudge and the pushing to be able to go forward and do. But if you don't have it inside of you, to have the capacity to do it, then you're not going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I know a lot of people who don't have the capacity to lead. They don't have the capacity or the compassion. You have to have empathy in order
yeah.
to lead. You have to have
Yeah.
compassion for others. You have to
Yeah.
have a willingness to want to see someone else succeed and do good and to be able to put them in a position. That's like when I was in a position. If I was, like I said, I'm the middle child, number 3 of 8, right? So if I did not have empathy in my heart, for others, I wouldn't give a damn about my other 5 siblings or whatever happened to them. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
wouldn't reach out to
Yeah.
them or try
Yeah.
to help them, or you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't try to talk to and encourage them or nothing. I would just be living my life selfishly,
Mm-hmm.
doing me. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't call nobody. I wouldn't reach out. I wouldn't give a damn. I wouldn't support you in no type of way. I wouldn't do anything because I wouldn't have any empathy in my heart. So my
Yeah.
But Kit,
selfishness would
do
be
you
there.
feel the same way as Marifa? Because
Yeah.
so you're at the top, Marifa's in the middle.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm the next to the last. So by the time it's me, I feel like my parents are like you hear this
They
all.
was already conditioned.
Yeah, they're already conditioned. They tired. They
Yeah.
just like, okay, we getting down to the bottom of the barrel.
Ain't no more
Yeah.
whoopings. You
See,
survived
I
all
was
of
about
that.
to say, yeah, I was about to say,
No more whoopings.
being the first one, you
But
look at
no, but no.
anybody
Now
else.
she still has strength. She still has strength to swing on us.
Yeah. But it's
Man,
definitely
listen.
it was never the same as like the first one, right? And
Right.
man, we
Yeah.
we can all say that as parents too. Each of our children is an individual, right?
Right.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but that first one was always, hey, this is my first slinky dink, right? I
Right.
might stretch it a little bit too far and break it. The next one I ain't gonna break like that. And I'm not saying kids are shrinky dink. Don't be pulling them by their feet and their head and popping it, even though they will crack, give them a backiotomy and stretch a little nigga, right? But it's the first one is the one that I can say from my experience that I used to look and be like, damn, you ain't gonna beat him for that, like he ain't gonna get smacked for that, like it was
Right.
always that comparison, like, oh, you let him get away with anything, like you soft on this kid, right?
Right. Yeah.
um so I can say that honestly, but ultimately, someone said this to me, and I processed it, and then I say, yeah, I could see that, right? They say, yeah, when it comes to family, like they're yours, but they're not yours, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
by saying that, what they were implying is, yeah, we're born into situations, we're given parents that, contrary to what they think, we asked for them. They didn't ask for us, right?
That's
You
right. Yeah.
chose these two people, right?
Yep.
Um, and
That's
not the
another
other way
topic for
around.
another day. That's a
Yeah,
topic for another day.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I gotta speak it out,
I want to. I want to know. I want to know about that. How
That's
did
called soul contracts.
Yes, yeah,
you're
we
saying
had contracts.
I chose my parents?
You
Yes.
chose your parents. You
You
chose, and
chose
I'll
your
make it real
family.
brief. You chose your parents because you were the most recent, updated, better version of both of them, right? I'm talking about your
Yeah.
We gonna have to talk
biological.
about that.
And
You
I'm
mean
just
the
gonna
daddy
say,
I
I'm
got?
gonna
I
give you an
chose him.
example. Let me give you an example, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Ultimately, someone put thought into your name, the person that named you, right?
Uh huh.
Because they were carrying something that they wanted you to excel in when they gave you this name.
Okay.
Also, also, there's a talent, an ability, a gift that you have that is an enhancement of the two biological people that got together to make you, right?
Right.
So what you find is one parent may have been able to excel in sports, right? They're going to have an offspring that will excel in sports. It's the
Right.
same way with being an avid artist, right?
Yeah.
They painted, they kid paints. They were a writer. This kid is interested in writing, right? And so
Yeah.
ultimately, your children are here to be the enhanced, better, most updated version of you and this other person. And their gifts and their talents are things that you pass on to them.
So I'm thinking about it on both sides of the coin. What is it? What is it that I'm getting from my mom and my dad? And then I'm also looking at the flip side of the coin. What in the world did Morgan, Monique, and Miles get
I
from
could
From
tell
you.
you, I
from
could
me and
tell
Michael
you,
Burgess?
yeah, I could
Yeah.
tell you if I do your numbers real quick, if I did your charts, I could definitely tell you like this is where it is, right? Because we would look at their gifts, we would look at their life path, right? We would look at their desires, the things that are ultimately things that they may sense are lacking in them, and not really for the worse, There's a
Yeah.
positivity that can always
Sure.
been drawn out of things. So there's something that they're lacking in that is a soul urge of theirs. Some people, for example, just want justice. I don't care what it look like. I just want justice. Right.
Right.
So there's an attribute that's found in that person's name, right? Which boils down to their numbers. And when we do their numbers and we start aligning those numbers with their higher selves, right? Their godparents, right? What deities are the netter that control your psyche, right?
Yeah.
And that are the higher attributes of yourself that when you go into meditative state, you should be embodying these attributes of yourself to help you chart your way throughout your life, right?
Right.
So I could tell you if I did their numbers, which all I need is their first, middle, and last name. If you have all three, some people got four, right?
Uh-huh.
Your date of birth, right? And then from there, we'll go through, do a chart, and then you'll be able to see because you as the parent will definitely acknowledge the attributes that are in your children because you have observed them their
Mhm.
entire time here, right? But then your children will be able to look at it too and pull certain aspects out of that they know, hey, this is uniquely tied to me, right?
And
Because
and
they'll
and
listen to that inner guidance. That inner voice is the one that's going to be polarizing them to pick out things that are, hey, that always seem interesting to me. Now I know why, right?
and
And we'll
so
find
and
things like colors, signs, symbols, jewels, right? Your stones, like all of that starts coming out of like doing that work. And it's
Yeah.
just helping you figure out who you are.
does it have to be gender specific? Like,
No.
could my son in his male form be the most like me
Yeah.
in his
Yeah.
in a
In a
female form?
way. Yeah, in a way, but then realize that okay, he is still himself, right? So he is like you because you're 50% of his biological, right?
Right.
So
But
there's
you understand
definitely
what I'm saying?
talents that
Like,
no, I
there's this
understand
one
you.
kid
I
that is
understand you.
really you
Yes. Yeah,
reincarnate.
they're more like you. They may have more attributes that you have, right? They may have more talents that you have, but that kid
Their
is still
individual self.
themselves. Yeah, they are
Okay.
still themselves because ultimately, and this is the whammy, we are all divinity incarnate going through a human experience, right? Called
Yeah.
a daily life, right? So we're
Right.
just a reflection of the eternal mind
Right.
observing itself. So yeah, we're individuals, but we're part of the whole.
Yeah.
Another way to explain it.
From the
Okay.
source. So
From
yeah.
the
So
source.
they're
Yes.
getting some things from you in their DNA that you brought through them. You given those
You've
talents and
given that.
individual
Yeah.
abilities to them
There you
to be
go.
able to navigate this world and to have the experience they're supposed to have.
So
So
what is it when someone mistakens my middle child movements, gestures, walking,
Yeah.
response, and like and that
They
might have
say
something
that's
to
you,
do
right?
yeah,
They
that's it
with
say
the
is.
it's
amount of time
you.
that
That's
we
your
spend
twin.
together. Like
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that is like it's sometimes I see like I really see me. But when
Right.
Morgan gets fire engine red, mad,
Yeah.
I
That's
Yeah.
you
see
too.
me, but I also see my mother. It
Yeah.
Yep.
was a way I was talking to
Yes.
her the other day on video, and it was the way that she looked over top of her glasses. And I'm telling you, for a split second, I said,
You saw your
"Oh
mama.
my God,
Yeah.
that was my mom."
Yeah.
Right.
But
So
see,
all of
okay,
those.
so yeah, yeah. So check this out. So check this out, right? Because we're part of this cosmic goo and there is no real such thing as time, but space, right?
Yeah.
There is a way that you'll hear us say, like the ancestors, right? The ancestors are speaking through this child right now, or this is this, right? Because we, of people of color in North America, have a saying that goes something like the apple don't fall far from the tree,
Right.
right?
So
So it's in your DNA.
why can't I see any of me in my son?
Because he's
And
getting it
I
from
see
his father.
100% Michael Burgess.
Yeah,
Right,
it's from the father. So when you
right.
choose your parents in the soul contract, I
Break
would
it
say
down.
this, man. Your parents are your most trusted confidants in the
Yes,
spiritual realm because they are the ones that you entrusted to bring you through this portal, that we call birth. So you go through this process. Think about it. You're going from liquid sperm to what we are in the physical talking right now.
right,
You were sperm. Think about that. You could not talk. You could not ration. None of that stuff. You're liquid in your father's sack,
In
right,
your
going
father's sack.
to be able to penetrate the egg of your mother. So the spiritual is what you are essentially deep down. You know what I'm saying? That's what you are. This physical thing is just a shell to be able to
right.
help navigate through this world. But I say that all to say this, right? You are supposed to be, a spiritual, reflection, like Kit was saying, of your parents,
Yeah,
because they share these attributes that you have, that are, some are more dominant than others. Like
yeah,
your son may be more dominant, from your father's perspective because maybe their relationship in the spiritual were, a little bit different than yours. You see what I'm
right.
saying? And y'all agreed in this soul contract to come to this earth and bring you through this portal, to bring Miles through this portal, right? You say, okay, in this period of time, we're going to meet, we're going to come together, we're going to have intercourse, and we're going to spiritually connect, physically connect, and then procreate this life. And Miles, you're going to come through us. But here are the things that you're supposed to go through in this life experience that you chose for yourself. And
There
here are
you
some
go.
attributes that I know that you
That's
can
gonna help
use
you.
that's going to help
Right.
To
you.
help you
They're
get through
gonna
that.
And
help you.
this is how you should be. You know what I'm saying? So this
Right.
is how you should do that in order to accomplish that goal that you have. And then you, Faith, may have said, okay, I can assist you in this aspect of that. You know what I'm saying? And I can give you a little bit of my traits and qualities and let you understand that. So it could be a part of your Akashic records, but it may not be as dominant
Right,
as his father's. So
So you're
that's why you
saying
right.
some of my positive and some of my negatives.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are
Come
So
through.
yeah, they're in him. But see, understand this too, right? So understand right and left brain or right and left
yeah, yeah.
hemisphere thinking, right? So for him, his right brain is his feminine brain. His
Hmm.
left brain is his masculine brain. I'm sure his energy is close to that of Shango, right? And I'll explain that in a later podcast. But when you have a person that's already like an alpha male, right? He's not just a male, he's the alpha male, right? Oftentimes his femininity is hidden, right? We
Hmm.
don't see it because he doesn't show outward displays of his feminine side, but
No,
he
but
made it. Let,
I
let, me,
see
let
it
me
in the
finish
way
real
that
quick.
I see it in the way that he, because his son is he's got a new son.
Yeah,
So I see it
Hmm.
in the way that he handles his son. Not all
that that's what
the
I
time,
was gonna say. Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. So understand. So never underestimate the power of the mother, right?
Right.
That is the first God in all of our lives is our mother. She gave
The
you birth, she
nurturer.
brought you through here, and then
Yes.
she gave you suck, right? She gave you the titty. It might have
To
been
survive.
Similac, but she gave you the bottle first, right? So that's where I'm saying, like when you look at him as a father, your son knows how to change a diaper, right?
yes.
Where did he get those examples of knowing how to change a diaper? Where did he get the examples of knowing how to give a baby a bottle, knowing how to burp a baby, right? That's the sacred feminine in action through someone who in this matrix is considered to be masculine, right? So those
Right.
attributes of his fatherhood that are actually displays of femininity are you. That comes from you,
Right.
right? Because
That's what you gave him.
biologically, yeah, that's what you lended to him, right? His
Right.
mission here may be that of just, I'm a warrior or I'm this, archetype that fits with masculinity. But his feminine attributes, we talking music, art, right?
Emotion.
Creativity, his emotions, right? All of those things is him tapping into the recesses of his feminine mind. So those are the contribution that you as his mother gave him. And then check this out. Some of his masculinity is your masculinity. Because
Yeah,
Right.
there were
because
times
most
where
days
you
I
as the
sport a full
mother,
beard too.
yeah, see, so there's times where you as the mother displayed masculine attributes, right? Oh, let me help you with this math problem. Analytical, right? You as a woman think analytically as well, right? So there's things that's you using your masculine side of your mind. Your son also observed that growing up with you as a mother, right? So never think that because you think, oh, he's so much like his dad. No, there's certain aspects of being a man that he learned through you displaying masculine attributes that he also added that into his quiver. And now he got extra arrows to throw out there too. Yeah, my daddy said I could do this, but my mom handled it like this, right? And
Right. His
sometimes
mom
we
said, "This is how you
see
grow a full beard."
Now that part you may
See,
not
I
be able
tried
to
to
do
glance
that
over
part.
that. Yeah,
That testosterone, that testosterone, you ain't be able
Listen,
to do that
yeah,
part.
if I didn't have some in there, it wouldn't be here. But I'm just saying, I got you. I got you.
But
yeah,
no, I'm
yeah.
saying
There's a
like,
balance. There is a
what if you
balance.
have like parents or single parents households? You
Yeah,
know, mothers
yeah.
who don't have a father in the household to
That's
show
a
the
beautiful
child an
question, but I'm
example.
I'm gonna tell you an answer that I was given one time that I had to say, God damn, you're right, right? So for the single parent household, right, or the household that may have had another parent figure or another parent that was absent, took no part in the rearing of the children, right? Because a lot of
Right.
times that happened too. We got people that grew up with both parents that don't even had
One
no
is active,
relationship with one exactly because
right,
one parent was active
and the
doing
other
the
one
right
just
shit,
there.
right? So this person gave me we were talking, and you know, I did the foolish, oh well, I really didn't have a father figure in the household, and blah blah blah. And the nigga was like, well, You said you used to be in a band, right? And your band director was a man. I said, yeah. Yeah, and you also played sports, and your track coach was a man. Your baseball coach was a man, and I was just like, stop! You ain't even got to say no more, because those were all examples of a father figure in my life. That we go back to the village concept. Takes a village to rear a child, right?
Right.
So we have aunties and uncles. We have other people in our lives that stepped up to the plate, even though we may not have given them that acknowledgement, right? That's why I love the term, like giving people their flowers now, For
Yeah.
some of
Right.
you, if you haven't done so, go back and thank those people, your aunties, your
Yeah.
uncles, the neighbor. Those were the examples of parenting when your biological was not there to, fill that role, because how dare we limit our beautiful black ass minds to just thinking that, you know, our entire life was just supposed to be June and Wally Cleaver, right? And we were
Right.
supposed to grow up in this fantasy. That's not our paradigm, man. Our lineage is actually communal, right? And
Right.
growing up, and we've said this before too. When you go back and you think about it, the term auntie in some communities, especially over in Akibulan, your auntie was actually your daddy's other wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or your uncle was a brother by your father's daddy's other wife, right? So, when we look at it like that, our families were closer knit and a
Yeah.
lot broader just based on aunt and uncles. And we mimic that here in Babylon the Great, right? We mimic that because we grow up saying, oh, yeah, that's my cousin, or your mom's best friend, that was your auntie. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, no,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my auntie, right?
Yeah.
And how dare we nullify and just void their relationships that also contributed to the people that we are and the gifts that we learn sometimes just from ear hustling, just from eavesdropping and hearing your mama on the phone. Girl, that little nigga came in here. He think he grown. He did this,
Yeah, my
right?
mama, man,
But
she used to put our business out in the street right in front of our face. We
yeah,
She be
who
on the phone
did?
telling about, yeah, girl, I had to whoop these badass kids right now. His ass done did this, he ass done did that. And we sitting there like, mama, I'm right here, right?
Yeah, she don't care.
She
Say,
ain't
you want
care,
some more? You want some
right?
more? Right?
She looking
No,
at me like,
no,
I'm
no,
right here,
mom,
right?
no. Yeah,
I'm,
man.
I'm sitting
Yeah,
right here. But yeah, man. So how that trauma, you know, associated with experiences that you see, things that you
yeah,
witness, those soul contracts that you have in the spiritual realm before you came in, those things you chose to go through those experiences before you got to this world. You
yeah,
had to have those experiences in order for you to grow to where you needed to be in your life. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you were meant to do. The soul contracts is not only limited to parents, but it's
no.
also friends,
Yep.
brothers, sisters, cousins, what I'm saying,
Spouses.
spouses, people you run into, what I'm
Yeah,
saying, people you encounter. Those
yep,
soul contracts, what I'm saying, are prevalent in every walk of your life because you have to have something that you're supposed to learn and be able to elevate where you're supposed to be in your spiritual walk or your journey here while you're going through this life experience. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So you agreed to have these, encounters. You agreed to have these experiences with this individual person while you're in this lifetime. So some people they wonder all the time why, if you see someone in a toxic relationship, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that is not good for them, to be in this relationship. This person is abusive, either mentally or physically. This person is, doing things to this individual, but they stay in the relationship, even though people warn them all the time, hey, get out of that relationship. You shouldn't be a part of that. You need to get away from this person, this, that, and the third, leave them or whatever. And they stay in the situation. And you wonder, why do they stay to continue to endure the abuse? Why do
yeah,
they stay in those situations? Because it can either be related to a trauma that they had in their childhood, something they experienced that may have caused them to want to try and save an individual, or
yeah,
something that they regret they did not do when they were a child, or something that they seen as a child that they feel like they could have done better back then, and they see those same traits and qualities in that relationship that they're currently in as an adult. And they
Yeah.
say to themselves that, well, I can change that person. You know,
Yeah.
you can't change that person. What you're meant to do is learn from that person. Now, the time that you spend with that individual learning that lesson is up to you.
Yeah.
How long you want to decide to stay. Have you learned your lesson quickly, or does it take you time to learn that lesson?
That's
You
another
Right.
know,
podcast, my brother. That's another
yeah,
Right, but
podcast.
see,
how
it's
long?
part of that progression, though, right? It's part of that progression because ultimately, just like the traumas when we started out on childhood trauma, those things happen in your life to condition you for the next upgrade that you're about to receive, right?
Yeah,
So you would never progress unless something traumatic happened, right?
yeah,
I've shared this before. I learned this paradigm almost 20 years ago that change is uncomfortable, right?
right.
Change is uncomfortable, but it's how you deal with the change that makes or break you in the long run. So don't think that a leaf fell from the tree because the wind was blowing. No, it fell because it was uncomfortable. It was comfortable in the state where it was attached to the branch, right?
Yeah,
But then it became uncomfortable and it fell down, right? Um, and our lives go the same way. You know, things happen, traumas are introduced in our lives, and like the brother Marifa said, you know, understand like the good and the bad that happens in your life is really designed to see what outcome are you gonna make out of the situation, right?
yes,
So ultimately, I know this is hard for a lot of people to swallow. There's no good and there's no bad. There's no right and there's no wrong. There's just existence, right?
yeah,
Death is just transition. So, you know, we learned in elementary school that, you know, you can't destroy anything, right? You can't destroy matter, right? It
right.
can be transmuted, it could be transformed, but you can't destroy it. It just goes from one stage to another stage.
That energy,
Our
the energy.
our progression through this life is the same way, you know. Some of us we can look at the examples in our communities. We can look at the examples in our own households a lot of times and see people that, yeah, they just not gonna get it this time, right?
Yeah.
They're not gonna get it. They're gonna have to rinse and repeat. They're gonna have to do this until they get it right. And that's kind of a philosophy that majority of us already hold, right? We're
Yeah,
here for a lesson. Some are. Ultimately, we all are, right? But we're not all moving the same speed at the same direction other than from birth until death. We're all going that direction, right? But when it comes down to the aspects of how we move and maneuver this planet, we're moving different ways, right?
yeah,
But ultimately it comes down to you as the individual. You know, it comes down to you and how you deal with the people that you're interacting with, right? That's why the principles like the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, come from that, right? Because ultimately you don't want someone to do wrong to you, so you do right by them so they in turn do right by you. We
right,
see that happen amongst crooks, right? There's
right.
a code in the streets, right? Like, you know, honor amongst thieves. So we
Yeah,
know that even in our grimy state, there's still an aspect of positivity that goes down where they got honor amongst each other. F everybody else in this goddamn world, but amongst us, this is the code that we live by, right? So there's still like a morality that exists in opposition of a moralistic life, right?
yeah,
Because ultimately humans are here to do human shit, and all of this is just human shit that we're going through, right?
yeah. So tell me this, Faith, how did you, you know, choose to, look, or I guess use your trauma from the experiences you had through your mother to be able to, grow as an individual person and not repeat some of the same mistakes that she made? Because a lot of times people do this. They'll go through trauma and they'll see certain things happen to them, and then they'll use it as an excuse
And
not
repeat
to
it.
move forward. They'll
Yeah.
stay stuck and they'll say, well, I can't overcome this trauma, so therefore I'm going to go and I'm going to indulge in alcohol,
Right.
or
I
I'm going to
have friends that
indulge
can't move past
in
that trauma.
drugs. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
They
or
can't move past the trauma, and they let that, even in adulthood, they're stuck in that trauma based off of what their parents did.
yeah, how did you
Um,
overcome that and not allow substances to become your crutch to be able to
Mm.
help you deal with the trauma? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I didn't allow substance to become my crutch, but I think that they're like the crutch is something, but maybe not substance. It might be in the way that I respond, or it might be in the way that I react. Um, but I think that the trauma that I faced, I think the reason that it doesn't hold me, I mean, it has held me in times past. It's made me uh, think about the way that I respond, think about the way that I act, think about my response,
Mhm.
the way that I conduct myself. I just didn't use a vice to do it, but I think too, it added to my mental strength. Um,
Yeah,
Raven is here just off camera, but I
Yeah.
know there's no way she would be able to come back from some of the trauma that I experienced as a child. You
right.
know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a wiser generation, but definitely weaker.
Yeah.
right.
I was correcting her a few days ago, and I heard her say to her mom, "Oh, she hates me." And so I had to
Yeah,
go to her
yeah,
and I said, "Hey, listen, I didn't say
Yeah.
that.
right.
There's nothing about hate in this. This is not hate. This is correction, and there's a difference. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
gonna go through
Because it's
this
actually love. That's not hate. That's
right.
love.
That's not hate, but just her response to me correcting her.
Yeah.
So
And
look, I got this. I don't mean to cut you off, but that is actually tapping into this comment that we got from Julie. And Julie says, hashtag don't beat black
don't beat
kids.
black kids.
You know
Amen.
what I'm saying? So, what are we to do
Amen.
with black kids and how to train and rear them up? Because I remember I got plenty of whoopings as a child. I
Yeah.
got plenty of whoopings. You hear me? I mean, I used to get whooped in licks, like, depending on the offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I did something really offensive, it was like a set number of licks that me and my brother would get from our mother. And this is growing up in the 80s. Okay.
Okay,
So,
so
but
so so
the
so
trauma
each
of
thing
that.
didn't hold the same
Yeah,
amount of
licks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
it didn't hold the
The
same amount of
time.
licks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But
How
now,
long the how epic this beating was gonna
yeah,
be was determined
My
by
mother
what you
hit
did.
until her swinging arm was tired,
right. That's how my
Mm-mm.
or
father would
until
whoop. Yeah.
we was like peeled back. You know how you do
Yeah.
that thing where you crying and you
Half
take a
dead.
Yeah.
breath and it comes out and you just
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
You ain't got no more tears. But I'm saying, like, in this new generation, when you're talking about your granddaughter not being able to process the difference between, like, oh, she had it taken out of context, like, oh, she doesn't love me. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that we went through as children that we can actually doubt our parents' love
Yeah,
that they did to us. And we like, what what made us be able to overcome and be able to decipher the difference and tell the difference, like, okay, that's tough love, as
Yeah.
opposed to, all right, that's, was it just a generational thing in
for
our era?
me,
A little. Yeah. Go ahead. Go.
for
I got a
me,
question real quick. Faye, how old is Raven?
how old is Raven? I'll let her answer. How old are you?
I'm 7.
All right,
7.
now 7.
Awesome. Awesome. And
I
the
Yeah.
reason
think
why I asked that is because a lot of times, first of all, I want to let's go back to what the question was. Like, are we to beat our kids, or how do we do? Don't beat black children, whatever the way the question. And I was like, amen, because
Yeah.
I'm,
Yes, he
you know,
is.
I went through the
Julie put a hashtag up. Hashtag don't
Yeah.
beat black kids.
don't be black kid. Amen, amen, amen. I'm a raw on that, and this is why I say this, right? Um, our parents would have said, and we would have said, nobody gave me a book on parenting, right?
Yeah.
That's a fucking excuse, right? They teach
Right.
parenting classes in every community for free,
Right.
right? So, as black parents, I'm telling you, don't let DCFS, don't let the Department of Child Services, or whatever it's called in the city that you live in, force your black ass to have to go to parenting class, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you got any questions on some real shit, reach out and get the damn answers because the resources are free. They're
Right.
free. And one of the first things you'll learn in parenting class is understand like the child, their age, and their psychosocial behavior, right? That's why I asked, how old is Raven, right? So as
Yeah.
a 7-year-old, hey, didn't you used to be 7? Right?
Right. Yep.
Identify with the 7-year-old, right?
Right.
They have a thing called like had a need to need conversation.
I
You're
was gonna say,
taller than her.
and the other thing is to see what her mind. So
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to not I'm going to gently not agree with you on the hashtag beat black kids. I think that one of the things is that my mother sometimes beat us in anger.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then there
yeah.
was other times that she corrected us, and that came with as Sean called them, a lick.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I know the difference. So if I'm steaming mad
Yeah, it's not
because
time
of
to
something
whoop
that
them.
Raven has done,
Yeah,
and
it's not time.
I'm not in control, not acknowledging my faculties, that's not the time to correct her.
Right.
I have to wait until I'm checked and I'm under control
Yeah, for sure.
and
For
say, hey,
sure.
listen,
Now
when
look,
you
I
do
earned every whooping I get. I did earn it. Because I did something wrong.
not
Now
not
I
me,
did. I earned
not
He
me.
said,
every
not
single
Sometimes
one.
I
me.
got it. Sometimes, we talked about this earlier. The problem is we started this broadcast. We started talking into our broadcast time, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna say
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah.
then I gotta run because Raven is waiting very
Okay.
patiently.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Um, a lot of times, I learned by the example that my brothers got. Like you said, Sean, I don't have to touch the stove. I don't have to
To
steam
know.
that.
Yeah.
I don't have to smoke weed and turn someone's car over, or get drunk and turn someone's car over to know.
Right. I can see you
Um,
do
Yeah.
that.
but I think that for me, what's happening differently with correcting Morgan than what I did with Morgan, Monique, and Miles. I'm sorry, what's different when I correct Raven? When I corrected Morgan, Monique, and Miles, sometimes I was mad.
Yeah.
I could be mad at Michael and go to beat them, and that's not just about what they did. What I
Right.
know now is some of that was because I was angry at their father, or I was angry at a situation, or I was angry at life, or angry at a response. With Raven, I will say I have, and my kids say, "Well, Mom, you beat the brakes off of us, but you're not going to
Yeah.
beat the brakes off of her." A lot of times, the redirecting of Raven, the difference is I'm in control of my emotions, and I'm not mad and I'm not upset. And so
Yeah.
I say things to her like, when you purposely stomp on my foot, that hurts. That hurts me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, that hurts me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like it. When you continually do it, and I've asked you to stop, it makes me upset.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I let her feel the emotion. I let her understand what it's doing. The choice that she's making has consequences. And like
Yeah.
me
Right.
But
beating her,
you don't beat her though. You know, that's the whole
no,
thing.
I don't
There's
beat
no
her. I don't
beating.
beat her.
So you
But
know,
I
we
do
we
correct her.
yes, yeah, and we have, just we as parents, should understand the difference between discipline and punishment, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Discipline, we use discipline to to correct a deviant behavior.
Yeah.
Your behavior is really shitty right now. I need to discipline you. And then the discipline should kind of be matched or mated to the offense that was caused, right?
Right.
So for our parents,
I never
it
heard
was
no
it
lick
was
system though. That is the
no,
difference to
I
me.
agree
If
with
I had known
I'm
that
more like him.
dialing the
25.
operator and calling 911 and fake needing help from the police was only
Yeah,
3 whacks,
Three
yeah.
licks.
I might have done that a couple of times, but
So
I can remember doing it, and it wasn't even me. It was my younger sister that did it, but my mom beat
mm,
the both of us because she said,
oh
"I
yeah.
can't. I don't know who did it, and both of
But
you
both
Everybody
of
all
gonna
went
y'all,
to
get
the
it.
scene of
Yeah.
the crime,
everybody gonna
so
get it.
both of you get it."
Everybody till
Yeah.
somebody confess.
Hey,
Right.
And again, bless the parents that didn't kill their children, right?
Right.
That
Yeah,
may have had a little bit of sense to stop right before the child died, right?
yeah,
Right.
That was part of the psychosocial behavior of our generation as well, where our kids were another generation, our grandbabies are another generation.
yeah,
So you see that, right? If there was an elder in your household, a great grandparent for some of us, right? I remember one. I think my great grandfather passed when I was about 7, right? But hadn't physically been in his presence since I was a toddler. But for some of us that had that great grandparent, they wasn't no lift no goddamn hand and no children.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm too old to be doing this, man. I done did this. I did it for
That's
your
right.
granddaddy. I did it with your grandmama. I might have smacked your auntie, right?
Right.
But when it get to you, I ain't got no time for that. That's what y'all is here for. Somebody's supposed to be between me and you, smacking the shit out of you. That's what it
Right.
calls
Yeah.
for, right?
Right.
So, when we look at it like in its reality, right? Again, I'm not faulting anybody for what you do. Don't kill nobody, right?
right. Don't kill
Um,
nobody.
I'm not an advocate of putting hands on black children, because I feel like everything could be handled through words. But the time to put hands on them, in my instance, with my own, was when you are causing harm, right?
Right.
Or you're about to hurt yourself, right? Or you're hurting someone else. Yeah, you're going to get popped because me talking to you did not stop you from
Right.
doing what you did. But once the
Right.
little pop came on the butt, oh shit, daddy, you hit me. Yeah, because you didn't listen to me saying stop hitting her, right? And
Right.
it stopped, right? But the conversation is where the real magic begins. You know what I'm saying? The conversations is where the magic begins. Black people never stop talking to your children. Always talk to them. Always ask, how was your day today?
Yeah,
Tell
Yeah.
them they were loved. Give them the
yeah,
tools that they need to be the best them that they could fucking be, because we know this world is going to show them a different reality,
yeah.
right?
Right.
We had a show plan today to talk about some of these realities that are coming into fruition with laws designed to take us back to Jim Crowism.
I was gonna say,
Laws
Yeah.
designed,
we definitely need. Now, I did
yeah,
some
we'll
research
get
for
to
that.
that.
We definitely need to hit that.
Yeah, we'll
I
get
know we
back to
veered in
it.
another direction, and childhood trauma is not finished. We probably gonna have a
We got
part
to
3,
come
4,
back
5.
again on this. Yeah.
But we
We
Yes,
got
got
to
to
come
talk
back
yes,
on
about
this
how
one.
some of these laws that are coming into effect now are going to have a great effect on Raven and her children.
yes,
That's right. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Definitely,
love you
man.
guys. She's been
Love you
patient.
too, sis.
I
All
Yeah.
know
right
that
now.
on you all, but listen, I love you.
Yes, indeed.
Raven loves you for talking to me.
We love you
Hey, little
And
too.
mama. Little mama.
we're gonna talk again soon. Y'all keep talking, but I'm gonna cut out. We're gonna do our after action review and get on these others. And
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
building podcast.
That's right.
Fire in the building.
We
I
in the
love you
building,
guys.
baby.
All right.
All
Love.
right.
Peace. Peace.
Yeah, yes.
Peace. But yeah, bro, I'm telling you, man. So the traumatic episodes, man, that we deal with and we go through as children impact not only our decision making as adults, you know what I'm saying, dealing with our relationships, our soul contracts. A lot of it we had to go through was something that we dealt with from our decisions before we even got to this earth, to be able to go through these things and be able to have them put those things together. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like we had to go through these experiences to be who we are today. You know what I'm saying? So childhood
Right.
trauma is something very important that we always had to talk about, man, and address, going forward. But man, we're gonna go ahead and close out, bro. It's been an hour.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And we're gonna get to the day, you know what I'm saying? So it's been another great Still Building podcast, man. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank my panelists today, you know what I'm saying? Kit Jones, Faith B, man, for
Always,
all of the
always.
contributions and the love, man, to the show. Remember, y'all, we need you to like, subscribe, follow, and share all of our social media platforms. You've seen the scrolling banner at the bottom. You know where to find us at. If you've been paying attention, watch the replay. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the channel, so that way we can grow our numbers and Still Build a Podcast can be up there, man. So we're gonna close out again, man. Oh, also go to mariefastar.com. Get you some fly and fresh gear, man. I'm rocking some Mariefa Star right now. Juneteenth is coming. You know what I'm saying? Juneteenth is coming. Get you
Yeah.
something, man. Support black business, man. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and get you some gear, man, and represent the culture, man, African culture. All right, so man, Kit, you got anything to say, man, before we close out?
Peace, blessings, and hair grease to everybody. We'll be back again. I just want to re-echo what the brother was saying. Make sure you like and share. Please leave comments on whatever platform you're watching this on. Shoot us questions, sow suggestions, whatever you want to do. But make sure you communicate with us because that's how the algorithm is designed,
That's
right?
right.
It only works if we're doing it two ways. So we're putting the energy out there, but we also need your energy in the form of likes and shares. So thank you very much.
That's right, for sure, man. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, comment to the channel, man. You know what I'm saying? And become a Patreon at patreon.com/Still Building Podcast. You'll find us over there for more exclusive content. All right, man. Like I always want to say when I close out the show, man, listen, the more you know, the more you'll grow and the better off we all shall be. So until next time, I'll say y'all love and light. Peace. Let's go. Yo.